You can vote on it if you want. Usually the motion second, you just declare it's adjourned. The chair actually has that. Three firm wraps, start the meeting.
All right, tell us.
Get this all figured out here.
Hopefully. I think you guys take some pictures too, I guess, or will there be?
For the last 3 hours.
Everybody here, when we're done here, I think we're going to look at some pictures. I know I want to get a shot with Lauren. The odds with you. The problem is Commissioner Ulrich had an emergency at his home. He had to leave.
Oh, okay.
So who was John's?
No. I think
You were. That's right. David. Yeah, so Commissioner Ulrich isn't going to be here.
Remember, Mr. Chair, you have a question, and you would say Commissioner, and then I'll put these over their way.
sounds good.
You got
These mics gonna work?
them? They will sleep. Tuck into it.
Hello?
Yeah.
They're working now.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Absolutely. It's my district too.
Okay, guys. 5, 4.
The 16th Annual Future Leaders of Scott County Day Student Board of Commissioners meeting is called to order. I would like to welcome everyone to the SMOC Student Board meeting. Please stand to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner Aden, Commissioner Caden, Commissioner David, Commissioner Lauren, and Commissioner Saloni. Commissioners, please introduce yourself to the audience, state your first name and your school.
Aiden from New Prague High School.
My name is David. I'm from Hidden Oaks Middle School.
Caden from Jordan High School.
Lauren from Shakopee Area Catholic School.
Saloni from Shakopee West Junior High School.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is recognition of future leaders of Scott County Day volunteers. The Veteran Service Director will make a few comments and present the certificates on behalf of the board.
Thank you. Each year we have veterans that volunteer to come and assist us with this event, and in recognition of that, we like to present them with a certificate stating our appreciation to them. Quite a few of them had plans this afternoon, or you youngsters just wore them out and they had to go home, one or the other. So the ones that are here we'll recognize. We'll also mention the ones who have left so that their name gets on the official board minutes. My assistant, Derek Barwell, and his student will help us with this presentation. Charlie Poss. Okay, Charlie's left. Tom Loftus. Just once. Ron Harsey. Jim Cates. Greg Swanson. Oh, Ron's working his way up here. Oh, that's Ron. This is Ron Harsey, by the way. I thought maybe he left. Tom Menden. Bob Rowe. Ed Spiker. Dominic Emanuel, excuse me, Dominic Emanuel. Bob Wickman, Butch Mommer, and John Hogan. Okay, that's all of our volunteers, Mr. Chairman. Thank you much for the time, and thank you volunteers for your fine efforts.
All right, on behalf of the student board and all of the student participants, I would like to thank each and every one of you for the help of this event and making it possible to be here today. And I would like to remind the students in the audience that the next topics on the agenda were sent to you before the meeting. I hope that you took the time to read the materials and that you will share your questions and opinions with the student board. All right. The next item on the agenda is to decide programs to fund from a donation of $200,000 that can be used at Scott County's discretion to fund an existing program and or a new programs or services. This item will be presented by the Office of Management and Budget.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Steve Jones from the Office of Management and Budget, and I'm happy to say I'm here to provide you funding for some additional programs that our staff have worked on. So just a brief overview. A local business mogul within Scott County has decided to share some of his wealth with the county and has provided a $200,000 donation for some of our programs. Our staff have researched numerous projects and programs and have come back with 5 recommendations for your review to advance forward 2 of them. And each of the projects have a net county cost of $100,000. Now I'll briefly go through each one of the options that have been submitted. So option number 1 is a snowplow, and this one's been advanced because of our growing population and the increased traffic. We want to make sure that we really have safe highways, so we're always looking to take advantage of additional snowplows when we can to keep our roads safe. Option 2 is a regional skate park. Different communities within Scott County already have smaller skate parks, but a regional skate park of this size is built for a population of over 100,000 people. So at any one point in time, over 100 youth could be using the skate park. And the more activities and items that youth can use is a real benefit to society in general. It's a nice way to keep youth out of trouble. Now, option number 3 is a sheriff patrol car and would also come along with a patrol officer. So this would help both lower the crash rates across the county on county highways and also as a crime deterrent. Option number 4 is an educational and activity center at the Juvenile Alternative Facility. We are looking to construct this building for the Juvenile Alternative Facility. Right now, we currently have limited educational opportunities for the juveniles in this facility. So with the construction of this facility, it would really allow us to have more educational opportunities for the individuals within this program, and it would really help them for their future. And option number 5 is virtual reality equipment for court prosecution. Our court prosecution is recommending this equipment because evidence is very important any type of case that they have for prosecution, and a picture is very meaningful. But now with the advancement of virtual reality, we would be able to allow our jurors to either experience a crime scene or experience a traffic accident or any other type of activity that could happen. And it allows them, if it's a traffic accident, to be behind the steering wheel of a vehicle and truly see what were the factors that contributed to this accident. either a sun being in the wrong place for them or something distracting them on the sides. And even on a crime scene, it really lets them see all of the evidence in the proper place. Now, those are the 5 options that we have. Earlier this morning, we did a survey of our citizens, and based on the survey of these 5 options, option number 1 for the snowplow, 17% of the people voted for, the citizens voted for. For the park, for the regional park, 3%. Sheriff Patrol, 13%. The alternative, or the educational facility, 48%. And the virtual reality received 19% on the survey. So the top 2 items from the citizen survey that we did came back for the educational facility, by far number 1. Virtual reality was second at 19%, but then the snowplows in third and patrol is in fourth, but they're on 6% of each other.
Do any of the commissioners have questions about the request? Commissioner David?
How could we be sure that the virtual reality would be unbiased for the jury?
It would come back to the same information that gets used currently in a court case. You would still have to rely on the evidence being presented. So we would really rely on the person putting the information together, and they've always been unbiased in the past for us.
All right, Commissioner Aiden?
For the Juvenile Alternative Center, would we need to hire more people to teach there, or is it just the building itself?
This would include the ongoing costs too. That program has said that they would be able to fund the operating costs moving forward. So this does include, and this is the net cost. The building itself would cost more, but we do have other funding sources that's helping keep the cost to $100,000.
All right, is there anyone in the audience who has questions, comments, or input about the request? All right, it is time for the board to make a decision. Is there any action? Commissioner David?
I move for a motion to have the education center and an extra sheriff patrol car.
Is there a second to the motion?
I second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the funding of the education and sheriff patrol. Is there any further discussion? All right, clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner Aiden, Commissioner Caden, Commissioner David, Commissioner Lauren, and Commissioner Saloni.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a suggestion for the clerk of the board? Oh, I see that the clerk is helping her out. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Aiden,
Yes? Yes.
Commissioner Caden,
Yes.
Commissioner David,
Yes.
Commissioner Lauren,
Yes.
Commissioner Saloni.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes. So the next item on the agenda is a request to indicate the county's position on proposed legislation regarding the loss of driver's license until the age of 18 due to cell phone usage while operating a motor vehicle. This item will be presented by staff from Public Health and the Sheriff's Office.
Commissioners, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Lori McMillan, and I work with Scott County Public Health. I have 2 other members of our of the county offices here. I have Amy Luck, who is a deputy with the Scott County Sheriff's Department, and I have Alicia Brambilla, who also works in Scott County Public Health with the Child and Teen Checkups program. I have a request we have for a proposed legislation regarding distracted driving. The Office of Traffic Safety, a division of the Minnesota Department of Public Safety, has been supporting Minnesota legislation where juveniles found guilty of using a cell phone while operating a motor vehicle shall lose their driver's license until the age of 18. Scott County Public Health is requesting that Scott County Board of Commissioners support this legislation given the dangers of operating a cell phone while operating a motor vehicle. Scott County also supports the expansion of the legislation to include additional forms of distracted driving. Distracted driving is any activity that could divert a person's attention away from the primary task of driving. All distractions endanger driver, passenger, and bystander safety. Text messaging requires visual, manual, and cognitive attention from the driver. Therefore, it is by far the most alarming distraction. A recent AAA Foundation in-car study showed that teen drivers were distracted almost a quarter of the time while they were behind the wheel. Electronic devices such as texting, emails, and downloading music were among the biggest distractions, accounting for almost 70% of the distractions identified on the video. According to the 2016 Minnesota Student Survey, 12% of ninth grade boys and 10% of ninth grade girls in the Scott County responded they were either sometimes, often, or always texted while driving. Even more alarming, 40% of 11th grade boys and 45% of 11th grade girls in Scott County stated they texted while driving. Among 11th graders, these numbers drastically increase for those who state they are making or answering a phone call, 60% for boys and 63% for girls. Distracted driving consistently ranks as one of the traffic safety issues at forefront of many drivers' thinking. Each year, more than 80% of drivers in the annual AAA Foundation Traffic Safety Culture Index cite distraction as a serious problem and a behavior that makes them feel less safe on the road. Distracted driving is a deadly behavior. It makes you 23 times more likely to crash and is about 6 times more likely to cause an accident than driving intoxicated. Federal estimates suggest that distraction contributes to 60% of all fatal crashes, leading to around 5,000 deaths every year. Teens are among the riskiest drivers on the road, crashing 4 times more than the adult drivers do. In fact, car crashes are the leading cause of death among people aged 16 to 20, killing more than 5,600 teens each year, according to the AAA Foundation. Right now, we'd like to do a demonstration to show the risks of being distracted while driving. And for this, we need 2 volunteers from the audience. Okay. The man in the orange shirt and the Adidas. Come on up. And since your hand is up first, would you rather be the driver or the passenger? Driver? Okay. Can you have a seat right here? And passenger, you can have a seat right here. And Alicia will give you your instructions.
We would like to take a moment to demonstrate how easy it is for someone to get distracted while driving. We have 2 people in the front in the room. Can you please state your name?
Diego Chavez. Rolling West.
Thank you. Who have volunteered to simulate a driver and passenger. The driver, please raise your hand, will be given 2 opportunities to complete the task. The first time, the driver will be able to complete the task free of any distractions. The second time, the driver will have to do the activity while several other things are going around you guys. Driver, your task is to match a foam shape with the shape on the board. Can you see them? Okay. You may not match colors, only shapes. Any shape that is placed on the board incorrectly will not be counted. I will tell you when to start. Do you have the timer? Okay. Are you ready? Start.
You can pile them up on them. You don't have to just do it once.
Yep. But they can't be the same color.
Stop. How many did you get correct? Matches? How many was it? 5? Okay. So now we're going to have 2 distractors in the back, Amy and Lori. And we're going to do this again.
Roman is also going to be asking you questions.
Okay, driver, let's repeat the task, but this time your passengers will be asking you questions, plus...
Hold on, I gotta find
Okay.
what's an appropriate time that somebody wants to
Hamilton.
Last year it was Justin Bieber, so if you don't pick... No, Justin Bieber. What about...
Oh, I bought that.
Powers will.
So you're gonna have some questions.
Okay, so are you ready? Okay. Go.
How many people are standing over there?
I just love
How
that.
did you go in violence? Hey, what color is that bird? Did you see that Snapchat picture? Is Mary's phone number 952-233-1234? When is the last day of school? Are you going out? What color? Perfect.
Yeah, oh my gosh,
Stop
look
it,
there.
stop it.
Hey,
Which
do
way
you,
is
are you
left?
going to go out with Sonia tonight?
Stop, 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 stop.
You got 6.
Diego and Rowan, thank you so much for that.
So we have some questions for him. You see the
Okay, yep, go
difference?
ahead. So, Diego, we have Diego and Rowan, we have a few questions for you.
So how many did we get correct?
6.
It's 6? Okay. So, driver, Diego, what was the difference between the first time and the second time?
First time I was confused at, like, on the board, the lithograph.
Stand up. Thanks.
You come up.
Yeah, this is what it looks like, so you guys all know.
This shape was, like, bigger, so I got confused if this was supposed
Correct.
to fit in there. And so I got really confused there, so I started looking for other shapes. And then I started finding with the same color. And
Can't use the same color.
yeah.
What about the second time?
The second time, all I heard was just random mumbling. I was just focused on this, and then
Did you feel you had total control over what you were doing
The second time.
the second time?
second time, not entirely, but not sure what to say about that.
Would you rather be riding with the drivers the first time or the second time? With the passengers, sorry.
First time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Diego. You can sit down now.
Do I have a clicker? Is this my clicker? Does this work?
Who's dead?
Remove the window.
Oh, there she
Push
is.
it up and down here.
Up and down? Or over and over? Teen driving. Okay, over. Over it is.
Thank you, Deb.
Is there a picture? There we go. Okay. So I'm gonna try not to stand in front of the TV. Can everybody hear me in the entire room without going to the microphone?
And they can see on this one too. You can move up.
Okay. Okay. I can't read that far away though. So teens, like we already said, she already said that teens are overrepresented in crashes of distracted driving.
I think that's pretty common knowledge. You guys should all know that, and it's talked a lot in schools, and that's a good thing because we see a lot of it out on the road personally. So we want you guys to be hearing a lot about it, so you're thinking a lot about it. Lots of it's inexperience, your distractions, like we just demonstrated when you got a lot of people in your car, you're excited, you just got off of school, a lot of stuff happened at school and you want to talk about it. You don't want to wait until you're at a park or at home, you want to talk about it in the car right away. Speeding and a lot of lack of seatbelt use has to do with deaths and injuries in teens. There are different laws for newly licensed drivers. The first 6 or 12 months that you guys have your license. Some of them are night driving. The first 6 months you can't do any night driving between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. unless you are with somebody that's over the age of 25 or unless you are coming from a school-related function or work. Teens are 4 times more likely to be killed in a car crash when you have 3 or more friends in the car. And you're also placed on a passenger limit when you're newly licensed. The first 6 months, you're only allowed to have 1 passenger under the age of 20 unless you're accompanied by an adult. And the second 6 months, no more than 3 passengers under 20 unless accompanied by an adult. Cell phone use, there's your Snapchat filter. Under 18, you cannot use a cell phone unless you're calling 911 in an emergency. So you're not allowed to talk on your phone at all. According to the Department of Public Safety, each year, distracted or inattentive driving is a factor in 1 in 4 crashes, resulting in at least 70 deaths and 350 serious injuries. Any of you guys know anyone in your class that's been in a bad accident because of distracted driving? Or a death? Nobody? You all can't drive yet, right? Permits? Not yet? That's next year? Some people have permits? How many people have their permit? Do you guys talk about texting and driving a lot? Okay. You put your phone in the back seat? How about your parents? And their phones? How many people have seen their parents use their phones illegally while they're driving? So that means like not talking on the phone, but texting, surfing the internet, checking email, sending email. I'm not going to go to your parents' house and get them in trouble or anything, but it's pretty common, and I hope your schools are teaching you that you guys can tell your parents not to use their phones. They might not like to hear that, but it's illegal and your safety is important. So, and if they get mad, you can tell them that I told you guys to tell them not to use their phone while they're driving, because even though they're experienced, their reaction time is slower and they're more likely to get in an accident when they're paying attention to their phones and not thinking about driving and arriving safely to their destination. So this is a super long statute that I usually read the whole thing and people fall asleep halfway through. The most important part of it is the red part. So you're not allowed to send any and transmit any data. So if you're picking up your phone, not when you're under 18, because you guys can't use your phone at all now, but once you're past that point, if you're doing anything that has to do with email, text messaging, instant messaging, so like your Facebook Messenger, any command or request to access a worldwide web page, or other data that uses a commonly recognized electronic communications protocol. So if you're opening a text, looking at a picture, going to a web page, looking at an email, sending an email, anything that's not picking up your phone to try to dial somebody to make a phone call is considered illegally using your data while you're driving. So let me ask a question. If I'm sitting at a stoplight and I get a text message and I look at it, is that illegal? Yes, that's illegal. You're not even allowed to look at them, even if you're not sending anything back, even if you're parked at a stoplight. How about if I pull over to the shoulder and I'm parked and I read a text message? That's not illegal, right? Not illegal. So as long as you're out of the lane of traffic and you're parked and you're not a hazard, you're allowed to do all this stuff. You can send an email, and we see that a lot, and that's good that we see that a lot, that a lot of people are doing that. If you can't wait, pull over and look at it. Okay, so this is a stat. If you're looking at your phone for 5 seconds, which is the amount of time an average it takes to read a text message while you're driving, you're missing the equivalent of a football field while you're looking down at your phone. If anybody's in sports and knows how far it is to run that far, you're missing a lot of time and a lot of things. Drinking and driving, it's illegal for anyone under the age of 21 to consume any alcohol. The consequences of drinking and driving when you're under the age of 21 is that you lose your license for 30 days. I think that you're technically revoked for 30 days and court fines, and it's on your record. Teens whose driving privileges are revoked from a crash or alcohol-controlled substance-related violation cannot regain driving privileges until the age of 18. So not only 30 days, but until you're 18 too. Any questions? Yep.
I have a question. So my phone has the Bluetooth capabilities, so I can send text messages back and forth.
Yeah.
And not take my hands off the wheel. Is that illegal?
I have never had anybody like contest or bring that up to me, and I would have to check with the attorney's office, but that's not something that I would consider because you're not taking your focus away and you're not looking down and sending it, you're just doing it by voice. So if you do a prompt like to make a phone call with the voice, because a lot of cars have that now where you just say call whoever, we have that in our squad cars, I would consider that to be a similar function because you're just saying send, right? You're not looking down and pressing send. Yeah.
Can police officers ask to see your phone if they pull you over to see if you've been texting?
Yes, because we're investigating, that's why we're pulling you over. So say if I pulled you over for littering, I can't really, that's really out of the realm of my stop. If I just say, can I see your cell phone? Because I just saw you litter back there. So
if you see his cell phone and I activate a text to go out by my Bluetooth, how do you know that I voice commanded the text to go out versus typed it?
well, is your phone hooked up to your Bluetooth? Yeah, I don't really know. Like I said, I've never pulled anybody over for anything with like a Bluetooth capability. Usually, like I'm sure you all see people texting and driving. It's super obvious when people are not paying attention and texting and driving. I mean, I pull up to stoplights right next to people and I'm staring at them for like 2 minutes before they look up at the stoplight and then they see me. So it's a pretty big difference, and hopefully the officer would be able to tell if you're telling the truth and saying, I was just doing it all voice, because you look like you're talking to yourself when you're alone in the car, you know. Yeah. That stands out different than if you're just looking down at your lap. Good questions. Any other questions? Did we vote yet? No.
All right, thank you. Do any of my fellow commissioners have a question? Commissioner David?
All right. Let's see here. You said that 5,600 teens each year die of car crashes. How many of those are in Minnesota?
I need my sheet. Just a minute, please.
All right.
I apologize.
5,000. Commissioner, can you repeat that number again?
5,600.
There we go. AAA.
I don't have that information on how many are specifically in Minnesota. This came from the AAA Foundation. I can look for that and certainly get back to you.
Thank you.
Next year.
Next year.
All right, any other questions, other commissioners? Go ahead.
So it seems like after this whole presentation, like it's not just cell phone usage that is a problem here, but it like from what you said that where cell phone usage is a part of it, it seems like just outright not letting them drive until they're 18 seems like extreme solution to this, and to what only seems like about a third of the problem, because there's also inexperience in passengers that are also like a large part of it. So I think this is too extreme, although this is an issue, and I think we should instead raise awareness for it and try to get people to just not do it in the first place.
Kind of with that comment of Commissioner Aiden, do you feel this is the best way to approach the problem in itself, or do you think there is a different option in the way of helping this problem?
Thank you, Commissioners. Yes, I appreciate your points of view. However, as a person in public health, I feel that if there is something that happens, we want to respond and respond quickly, and that's why we feel having them lose their license until 18 is the appropriate action. However, not everybody may agree with us.
Go ahead.
Adding on to what Commissioner Caden said, what if people break the rules? Like, what if you tell them, no, you can't drive until you're 18, but some people are going to go out and disobey those rules even after you tell them. So what are you going to do about that?
I'll have Officer Love.
Well, usually if you're caught in a different situation and you don't have your license, the amount of time that your license is taken away or revoked is just lengthened. So if we catch you driving before you're 18 and you're allowed to be driving, we would just take away more time, maybe 3 to 6 month periods at a time, to try to deter people from abusing that.
All right, Commissioner David?
Since this would only be applied in Scott County, how would people know when they drive through Scott County to put down their phone, whereas in other counties they can still be on it, under the age of 18?
I just want you commissioners to know these are very good questions. I guess we would have to have some kind of signage out on around the county limits to let people know.
And maybe on our public pages.
And on the website.
Facebook.
All right, so now I've got one last remark, or afterward we go. Do you think it would be all right if we took a easier action first, and then slowly, if needed, ramped it up a little bit, like slowly put it into place rather than just right away? Or do you feel this needs to be put in right away at the immediate loss?
Well, this is the opinion that we have. If you have alternate opinions and would like to come, if there's groups that are formed to bring other options available, that would certainly be your choice. But this is what we are proposing.
All right. Any other comments, Commissioner Aiden?
You said yourself that adults also text while driving too, right?
I said that, yeah.
Okay. Well,
I agree with her too.
So even if we kept them teens from driving until they were 18, then they would probably still do it after they were 18. So all we're doing is taking away experience from them and making them probably more likely to, drive illegally.
We're also instilling some good values at a young age when values are most likely to be built in concrete in someone's personality. So like, if we take away your license, then you're going to be more likely to be that adult that's not using your phone.
All right, any other questions by commissioners? All right, so is there anyone from the audience who has a request? Sir?
Commissioner Aiden, I was just wondering about your comment earlier. You said, were you talking about how if you get caught texting and driving, you lose your license till the age of 18? I was just wondering if that was what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Then could you please state your name and school for the record with that?
My name is Ben Kohler, and I'm from Shakopee East Junior High.
All right, thank you. Any other remarks? Madam?
So if someone was just simply driving through Scott County and they sincerely didn't know, would you still hold that against them for not seeing the sign or not looking it up first?
Yep. Ignorance is not a defense when it comes to laws.
And also, do you feel that if this were put in place, other counties would follow suit?
I I think that if we had success in the program and it showed that our teens were getting in less crashes and less injuries and having less incidents with distraction, then it might be picked up by other agencies and counties as well.
Could you state your name and school for the record as well?
Alexandra Wright from Shakopee West Junior High.
All right, thank you. Ma'am?
How many teens currently in Scott County have been, like, have they ever, like, driven and texted, or how many are there?
How many teens are there in the county? No idea.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we don't have that statistic.
How many incidents?
How many incidences of teens texting and driving is what she's looking for? You know that, Scott?
Well, I don't think we know it for specifically Scott County. We do have the AAA data, is that they are 80%, I'm sorry. Just a minute, please. 60% boys and 63% of girls have said they have texted and driven.
How many of those ones answered they have once or twice versus always?
I don't have that information. Good questions.
All right, could you as well state your name and school? All right, any other audience requests or comments? All right, so it is time for the board to take action on this item. Is there any action? Commissioner Solani?
I move that the student board opposes the proposed legislation regarding loss of driver's license until age 18 due to cell phone usage while operating a motor vehicle.
Is there a second to the motion?
I second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second to oppose the proposed legislation regarding loss of driver's license until the age of 18 due to cell phone usage while operating the motor vehicle. Is there any further discussion? All right, clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner Aden,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaden,
Yes.
Commissioner David,
Yes.
Commissioner Lauren,
Yes.
Commissioner Saloni,
Yes.
All right, so the motion failed.
You turned and smiled. You just-
I feel so bad.
All right.
Well, thank you for your attention. We will be back perhaps with an alternative.
Thank you.
Your questions were amazing. Very good.
Thank you.
All right, so
Wait till we're done.
so
Just a little, yeah.
Oh, there
All
you
right.
go. After you take it.
All right.
Yeah, don't rush. Yeah.
Oh, for this next one? Oh, yeah, no.
Okay, which
Oh, it's fine.
I'm gonna wait until everyone's kind of quieted down and then I'll start.
Ask a question.
All right, so,
We're gonna do it either way.
excuse me. The next item on the agenda is a request to approve the proposed legislative position restricting social media use to people 18 years or older. This item will be presented by the Public Affairs Coordinator.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, it's an honor to be here before you today. With the initiative here we're asking is for you to support legislation that would go to the state that would prohibit any kind of social media use by anybody under the age of 18. And I'm sure, as this issue is kind of a no-brainer and you've read kind of all of the background on this, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of discussion about this. So I'm just going to provide a really brief presentation here. So feel free to stop me at any time or I can take questions at the end. Cyberbullying, oversharing, sexting, Twitter threats, cyber stalking, online predators, poor school performance. Are our kids, are your kids, really ready for social media and all of their consequences? Let's see what some of those are. Ruined relationships, ruined reputations, ruined college opportunities, ruined job prospects, legal consequences, life or death consequences. What is online lives forever. I ask you to approve this legislative position. Help save our kids from themselves. It's only common sense.
All right. Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have questions about the request? Commissioner David?
All right, so you mentioned what kind of social media? Because social media can be determined as, Snapchat, Instagram, or just having a phone in general, so texting, calling. What would be the guidelines for this?
Social media is generally something that is a two-way communication. So yes, it would be engaged whenever there's a conversation happening out in the cyber world.
Commissioner Aiden?
So what are the punishments of this?
Well, that would be up to the legislature to determine that, but as we were discussing in the previous presentation, they could have staged punishments for this from starting with fines, then going on to fines and prohibitions on driving, and then additional fines and community service. It just depends on how the legislators decide to define the consequences.
So does this doesn't include parent to child communication, right?
No, it would include anybody under the age of 18.
All right. Saloni?
So, I mean, if you're trying to do like a group project and you are texting or, yeah, you're texting your friend and talking about like what to do for the project, I don't know, how would you, I guess.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Solani, we managed to do it before 1990, so.
Commissioner David?
I would also like to point out that before 1990, we still had telephones. It was technically a two-way communication. I'm sorry. It was a two-way communication, so I would just like to point out that I do like the idea of some social media use being restricted, but texting, calling, those are still very useful tools in our generation. That, maybe Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, that could be toned down a little bit, but I think that not calling another person is a little too extreme.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner David, monitoring a landline is easier for parents than monitoring cell phone use.
I have a question as well. Do you think it creates more problems than solved? Because I'm just assuming that a mass amount of kids are going to not follow this, and thus it creates more problems in the sense of fines and other punishments and possibly creates a worse environment for them. Do you think that this would be worth the risk, so to speak?
Mr. Chair, thank you for that question. I think that there is a lot of merit to what you're saying, but I also think that this could bring in a steady stream of revenue to the state of Minnesota.
All right, and then with that, do you feel as if it could possibly be easier and be more effective to just educate them as they can still harvest the benefits of it while being educated and being literate online, so to speak?
Mr. Chair, I don't think we've been terribly successful in that regard to date.
How much have we put into it, so I guess?
How much time and resource have we put into educating people?
Like how much have we focused on the education aspect of it?
That is something that you would have to talk to the prosecutors about.
All right, and then are there any other comments by commissioners? Commissioner Aiden?
So, as somebody who is an avid user of social media, it's a large part of our culture as an age group. And so, we find out all of our information about how our friends are doing and what's happening and, who they're with and, stuff like that through social media. And another thing is, this feels like that's violating the First Amendment of freedom of speech, because don't we have a right to talk online with whoever we want?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Aiden, I'm going to address these two different questions differently. Just because something is a phenomenon with the youngsters doesn't mean it's necessarily right. And second of all, We restrict people from under the age of 18 from any number of things, such as drinking, cigarettes, marriage, voting, joining the military. How would this be any different?
Those are a lot different. Social media is, freedom of speech. It's what we say and our opinions out on the world. But then, like, marriage and drinking are just dumb choices that we make. And probably not covered under our First Amendment anyways.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Aden, my husband would really resent that. But that having been said, the dumb choices that are happening today are happening in social media.
Any other questions by commissioners? All right, so any requests from the audience or comments or remarks?
Could you please come up to the podium?
Yep, please come up to the podium and then state your name and school for the record.
Roman West, Twin Oaks. Could you explain the constitutionality of restricting social media use for teens and children while still use after under the equal protection of the Constitution? Isn't that discrimination?
You have to talk to our presenter here, sir.
Mr. Chair, good questioners, limitations to it, and many of them do apply to people under the age of 18.
All right, school for the record.
Jimena Robles and Shakopee West Junior High School are at something, and it's a pretty big store, like a mall or something, and you have your parent them to contact.
Mr. Chair, every store in the United States.
All right, please state your name and school for the record.
My name is Claudia Alor. I go to East Junior High. And how are you 100% sure that kids or people won't, as parents, I know my parents, probably they buy you a phone and pretend that they're going to give it to themselves and give it to their kid. How will you be 100% sure, or a certain percentage of sure that they won't fake their identification or fake their age, like how I'm pretty sure most of us have done at Instagram or Snapchat?
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure she was really, I think she was proving my point there. Basically, there would be a prohibition on the sale of any kind of smartphones to somebody under the age of 18. And if an adult got them, they'd be subject to the same criminal penalties as if an adult buys somebody alcohol.
Please state your name and school for the record.
Alexandra Wright from Shakopee West Junior High. And on the sheet here, you said that teens would spend less time in cyberspace and more time on schoolwork, family time, and positively interacting with friends in person. So, at least in this generation, as we have been exposed to social media, taking that away would, I don't think, exactly have this outcome. More time on schoolwork and family time and positive interactions with friends in person. This does sometimes happen on social media, such as we do talk to our friends on social media positively, and taking that away, I feel like, would probably not have that outcome.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, it can't hurt.
Please state your name and school for the record.
I'm Amara Smith, and I'm from Belle Plaine High School. I have a comment first. For restrictions on your phone and everything, I actually have an app where I'm only allowed to be on my phone for 2 hours. So, I can't be on my phone all the time, so I have to do my schoolwork and everything. And then my question is, say I have a parent who I can't physically talk to and meet them or something, or the only way I have a relationship is on the phone with my parent. Why would you take that away from someone who barely can see their family or whatever, but can FaceTime or be on your phone?
Mr. Chair, I have no response to that.
Please state your name and school for the record.
Ben Kohler, Shakopee East Junior High. I was just wondering if this were to be passed, how you plan to get all of the kids to stop, because there are so many. It would be hard to like charge or give fines to all the kids using Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter. That's it.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we always get the question about how this is going to be enforced. And again, that's up to the legislature to decide that. But we would enforce it like we would any other law. You see you doing it, you get arrested.
Please state your name and school for the record.
Paige Miller, Hidden Oaks. The internet has some great things, such as cat videos. What about the benefits of having internet, as there are lots of kids with cancer out there and they have been able to raise money to help pay for treatment, and lots of bringing awareness to lots of things out there that people need to be aware of. Are we going to take that away from everybody?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, the fact of the matter is that if you're going to make an omelet, you're going to break a few eggs. The teachers out there find benefits today.
I have a question. So this just be social media, or could I go home, go on to CNN, and I wouldn't get arrested, I guess, since that's not social media?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right. Please state your name and school for the record.
Alexandra Wright from Shakopee West Junior High. So to be able to use things like texting minutes or minutes to talk to people on the phone, it does cost money. So for those people who are not financially able to afford cell phone plans or landline plans, how would they be able to communicate at all? Or like at least be some form of free communication such as that.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I'm not aware of any communication being free currently.
Please state your name and school.
Robles from West Junior High School, and I remember you saying earlier that, oh man, I forgot, never mind.
If you remember, come back up.
Please state your name and school.
My name is Claudia Allure. I go to East Junior High. How do you think this is, are you 100% sure that this is actually going to work?
100% sure about it.
I'm Marilson from Middle School. So in my case, a lot of times my parents ask me to text them in the car while driving. It'd be illegal for me to do for them.
It's prohibition would, and they're committing fraud.
Mayor Smith from both provided us iPads to have yearly, and we are able to submit assignments and everything, but we are also communicating about our schoolwork, and like for track or volleyball or sport, post something about it and we are allowed to comment or answer back. Why would you be able to take away something from school where you're at home and you need to know something by that night?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, you'll provide these iPads for you? Yes. Well, it seems like it's safe by not doing that.
Chavez, and if this action were to end cell phones taken away from the children, what if that is the only way that the kids can communicate with their parents if somewhere else that's taken away from them?
I think AT&T would love to start putting in payphones again.
All right, are there any other audience requests? All right, my fellow commissioners. Oh, would you like to go ahead?
You said that payphones, AT&T would like that, but wouldn't that be two communications between two people still?
It's a landline. It's not cyber.
Oh.
Yeah.
So this would just be restricted to cyber?
Yes.
Space, all right. And my commissioners have some questions. Commissioner David?
You touched base on a prohibition for cell phones. there was a prohibition on alcohol way back when, and that did not work out, because of mostly Al Capone in Chicago. So how would we stop that from happening again if we did put a prohibition on cellular?
The prohibition would only apply to those under 18, and it's still restricted to 21 and over for alcohol.
All right, Commissioner Aiden.
Evolution is a one-way street. Hear me out. Just like humans, maybe, evolved from like monkeys or something, our society has evolved past the so-called days of 90 years ago, when we only had telephones. And I do not think it is a good idea to go back to the so-called 90-year-ago time period. What is your opinion?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Aiden, I don't know how old you think I am, but...
Your words.
Commissioner Solani.
So what if you have a question for your teacher? So we have this app called Canvas, and you're allowed to message your instructor. What would happen if you took that away from us? Like, how would we communicate with our teachers if we had an assignment that we had a question on?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Soltani, there are always workarounds. You can ask your parents to do it for you.
I as well have a question. With the extra time, how are we sure that they would do those positive things? Because this may sound odd, but that social media could be keeping them out of trouble, and they may seek other things like drinking and like smoking to spend their time and get enjoyment for the time being out of it.
Mr. Chair, I don't think there's any way we'll ever be able to restrict people from doing bad things and making bad choices. But this is just one method of taking the tools away to do that.
And then, Commissioner Aiden?
Are you done?
I've got one more. All right. And then with that, how do we know parents will enforce this? Because I'm assuming the parents will be the main enforcers of this, as people generally do it at home. How do we know they won't just be like, oh, you're doing fine, go ahead? Or then would they get punished if something happened and they found out, the government?
Mr. Chair, yes, if the parents have condoned or facilitated it, yes, they would be subject to criminal penalties. But in the interim, I propose that over the next 5 to 10 years, there would be an untold number of new technologies that could be put into place that would block, jam, or chip various methods of communication right now that could be installed for people under the age of 18.
Right. Commissioner Aiden?
In the interest of like about 5 more minutes, let's be open-minded for a second here. What if we don't need social media? Now, hear me out. Okay. I'm an avid user of Snapchat. Whenever I get a snap, I go on my phone and I'm really excited, because somebody's trying to talk to me. I have friends. But when I open the snap, I get disappointed because it's just a good night streak or a good morning streaks. I think we should help the public from having to feel this disappointment and save the children.
Yay.
Commissioner David?
I agree with what Commissioner Aiden is saying, that that sometimes social media is a hindrance to our learning and our social capabilities. With, like you said, cyberbullying, sexting, all the bad things that come from social media. But I think that a total ban on communication whatsoever is a little extreme, but I do agree with the concept of limiting, social media between teenagers.
As the idea of making sure that people are safe and that everything's going fine online?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Exactly.
So are there any other comments or questions? Ma'am?
Erica Goulson, New Prague High School. Just a simple question. Would this, for like smart TVs, would this prohibit smart TVs? Because I need to watch Netflix.
Mr. Chair, no, that's definitely not a two-way communication.
It's on the internet. It's on the internet, so I don't know.
You can turn off the text.
All right, any other comments or? All right, so it is time for the board to make a decision. Is there any action? Commissioner David?
I move that the student board approve the proposed legislation on restricting social media use to people 18 years or older.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the proposed legislation proposing restricting social media use to people 18 years or older. Is there any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Aiden?
No.
Commissioner Caden?
No.
Commissioner David?
No.
Commissioner Lauren?
No.
Commissioner Saloni?
Nope.
Well, I do appreciate your time, and Mr. Chair, if I could ask one thing, please ask Commissioner Beard what I do for a living here.
All right, the motion fails, and now we will have Michael Beard, the county board chair, and he has some closing remarks for everyone here.
Well, thank you, commissioners and Mr. Chairman. That was kind of fun. Did you guys enjoy the experience of debating a few issues and hearing some of the public's comments?
Absolutely.
That was good. That's kind of what we do, only a little more in depth, and I think we rely more on our staff. Speaking of staff, Miss Lisa Connor here, by the way, makes her living engaging in two-way cyber, not exactly bullying, but when I was in the legislature, there was a little tint to the bullying part, but no, seriously, she is our public relations, public affairs, deals with the media, the government, or the media, and getting our message out, the website, an email blast, all the things she was asking you not to do. She gets paid for doing on our behalf to keep the citizens in the loop, keep them engaged, and most importantly, to keep the commissioners engaged or informed about what it is we're talking about. So, anyhow, thank you for participating in a little mock government trial or experience today. Thank you for your attention to this, and I hope you take this memory with you to the future, because someday, and what do you guys, like 13, 14, 15 now? Yeah, another 10, 15 years, you too could be running for city council or county board or school board or something interesting like that, and being a representative of the people as you debate the issues of the day, whether it's cyberbullying or we're going to spend money on a snowplow or a skate park. This is important stuff. To all of you that were mentees here that asked the questions and participated, thank you for doing that as well. To the staff who pitched in to help, because I know Deb and Tracy and others, Leslie and so on, are going to be exhausted after this. It's a happy exhaustion, mind you, because it's a lot of work to put this on. To the veterans who helped pay for it, on behalf of my colleagues on the county board, Commissioner Wolf, Commissioner Brecky, Commissioner Beer, and Commissioner Ulrich, who had to run home for a household urgency, we would like to say thank you to all of you for doing that. So again, to the conclusion of the 16th Future Leaders Program, thanks for participating. We're happy to have hosted you, and God bless.
All right, this concludes our business for this meeting. A motion is in order to adjourn the meeting.
So
the motion.
The Student Board of Commissioner meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for your participation.
What is? Oh, never mind.
That was fun.
It actually works.
Oh my God.
It says that, but I thought I used it earlier and it didn't work.
Put that under school.
Yeah, good job, guys. Good job, guys.
You guys hear me?